right, everybody. I've got another two very special guests for y'all this week. This one's different from what we normally do in the show. Obviously, we're comics fans. We usually talk to comic creators, but this one is not only adjacent to interests of mine, but also still sticks in the world of comics. So I want everyone to welcome to the show the two folks from Lirius Games, Sonia and Giacomo. Welcome to the show, guys. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name.
Actually, it was pretty good. We heard like much worse. Like this, it was pretty spot on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for being here. And so, as I was kind of saying at the beginning, you two are part of Lirius Games, which is a board game company, and you've got this new board game on Kickstarter, which we will jump into later. But with all of our first-time guests, we like to do the origin story, and just for the listeners out there, we've kind of come to the conclusion that what we're going to do is these two are going to tell their origin story for how they got into comics, and then kind of mesh that into their board game origin story as well. So if you want to go ahead and tell that story.
Yeah.
Sure. You start and I chip in then.
For maybe I have a slightly longer origin story in the sense that I started reading comic books when I was really, really, really young. And my first love were American comic books. I grew up with DC Comics and Marvel and throughout my life, and especially during my when I was a teenager, like the really things start to click in, and I got really trapped into the rabbit hole. And there was this friend of mine who was like an avid collector who started giving me like massive backpack full of comics, and I had like fascination for the golden age of comics because I could find like this comic books. Actually, my mother was an avid comic book reader, and Neil Adams from comic books. They brought me into the world. And when I was 14, there was like a local Roman school that was teaching comics, and I started to attend that, and so I was drawing and writing, and then like from Marvel I went into one day I still remember the moment in which I put my eyes on Batman Dark Knight Return. And that changed again everything. And there was this actually was published in Italy, was like this massive edition, was like really the panels were absolutely huge, and it was just like discovering a new universe. And then I get also into filmmaking and from comic books like storyboarding and filmmaking, and then and then I met Sonia. Just like 10 years, 11 years ago.
15 years ago.
We met,
we met 15 years ago.
We met 15 years ago. And it's like, on my first date, or a second, I gave her, my first present was actually...
Because it was my birthday, and your present was Persepolis by Marianne Zatati.
Yeah, the graphic novel.
And, and I was hooked, and I thought, a man that gives a present like this, because my story with comics is very different. I read as a child, and then I think I stopped reading around 15, and I only, embarrassing to admit this in a podcast like this, but I only went back when I was 30 after Giacomo gave me Persepolis, and I was like, wow, how come I missed this for so many years? I underestimated, and then since then he very kindly guide me through into the comic book world again, and very carefully editing, curating the books, the author, and then I started buying myself books, because then I understood what kind of books I like to read, and and I start giving you books as well, exactly. Offering you things I discovered, and so for me it's something that developed in the last 15 years again. So since I was 30, I'm 45, so it's been the last 15 years only, to be honest.
Yeah.
I left Disney in my childhood, Disney books, and also books I used to read because I'm Portuguese. I read a lot of books, comics made in Brazil when I was growing up in the 80s. So I was very attached to this during my childhood, and then I read until a bit later, until my brother then was a child. I read his comics, and now we are reading our daughter's comics, by the way.
Exactly.
So it's a new era. We are also rediscovering some comic books from the new generation.
And we discovered Reina Telgemeier through her, like the author of Smile and so many amazing books. And it's just like Yeah, it's generation after generation. We're trying to pass the love for the medium that has been so meaningful for our life. So we love comics.
Hey, better late than never is what I say. And then, so you both have this love for comics at different points in your life. Did you also have that same kind of love for the board game medium?
We got I was like an avid player again, and was like especially into role playing games, because like the form of board games that exist now was actually 25 years ago was not like that shape. It was a different ballpark. There were still like the Hero Quest of like and like games that were appearing at that time, but there was nothing so structured. And then say like 6 years ago, we start to play more constantly, and there were like a couple of friends that like drag us back in, and then COVID happened, and that was like a big sort of like it was an incredible experience on many levels, and during that time, that was the moment in which like we were with a lot of time on our hands, and that's the moment in which we say, we have this idea, let's try to see how it goes, and then things snowball after that. But it's we've been like playing a lot, and we the way we approach it lately is almost like from an academia point of view. We start to break them in pieces, understanding the mechanics, and there's been a moment that it was pretty extraordinary, because due to the COVID, majority of players went up exchanging information and playing online. And I remember at that time, so when me and Sonia start to playing with the idea of this game and start structuring, there was this channel on Discord where like designers were meeting and players were meeting, and because everybody was there, you would end up playing with really big name in the industry. So suddenly we had big names playing our prototype, and the beginning was like was a misery. It was just like almost like ripped in pieces. And after like 2-3 months of fine tuning and adjusting things, we felt that the reaction was different. So it was like me playing at night and then referring to Sonia, and Sonia feeding me back like new ideas and things, and then going back at night. And that went on for like a month.
Months.
No, months. I would say like we were like 6 months, but like the most intense was 3 months. It was almost like a masterclass. Then it's been another year of like adjustment, and then so it's been so far 2 years of development into the game, and then we start like understanding and loving it more and more, and that's where we are now.
And that game is Age of Comics: The Golden Years, correct?
Yeah, correct. It's about comics again. So the idea was, it started saying, okay, Giacomo didn't mention, but literally after playing spending many evenings with these couple of friends of ours playing board games, at some point Giacomo said, why don't we make a board game ourselves? And we started reading about mechanics, how to create, how to design a game. And then it was the thing, what about the theme? What should it be? And Giacomo said, oh, let's make it about comics. And it's like, oh, I'm sure there exists already lots of games about comics. And then I went online and researched, and there was almost nothing. And there was nothing about publishing comics. And I thought, let's make it. That's basically how it was.
She's an economist, so the two things almost like merged together. So it's like, why don't we try to build a game about the
industry,
and the economics of making.
Trying to. Yeah, of course, we think this is our first time experience, so we draw on our passions, but also on our kind of skills and expertise. So it actually became almost always a management game, a resource management, and takes you through the productive cycle of comics, let's say. And because I use my professional experience together with creativity and
her creativity and my experience. So it was like, it technically is what is called a worker placement game. So you have to manage a team of editors it's set in the golden age, during the golden age of comics. Why I'm going back to the golden age? Because the system was like much linear and streamlined, and there was a sense of like adventure, even controversy, and like it was just a particular time, and is when the comic books that we know and we love now actually were generated, and the characters that were like working on them. So of course we try to take the essence of it and either simplify the process. So you run the company, you need to send out your editors and perform a series of publishing tasks in order to put together your comic book, send it to the market, and then collecting funds. And funds are really the currency of the game. Money are not like, yeah, they're an important resource to keep things going, but ultimately what we wanted to do is like creating the best comic book possible. But you can also create like rip-off of other players' comic book.
You're already revealing too much of the game.
Maybe I'm revealing too much of the game. Yeah, so it's like.
Well, yeah, as you said, I have plenty of board games that are, let's play as the superheroes fighting, or something adjacent to comics, but like the way I looked at your game, and it's one of the types of games I really enjoy personally as a board game fan, is like a resource management game where you've got the board and you're kind of moving resources around to try to get the perfect combination to win. And I've never seen anything like that with the comics theme over top of it, which is what immediately drew me to it when I saw the ads for it. And when you guys were making this game, like you said, you went straight to the golden age. So my first thing that pops out to me is like you've got these really cool different genres you can invest into in the game, and then you've got these amazing covers that just look like something out from the golden age. So is it all one artist that does all those covers and all the different art for the book, or do you reach out to a whole bunch of different artists to get it done?
The ones you can see now on the Kickstarter campaign and on our website were all done by the same artist. There's an Italian artist called Laura Guglielmo.
Yeah, she's a terrific talent. She works in illustration and games, but also started to work on comics. She actually recently won one of the biggest Italian awards for as an artist of like a great comic book called Emma Wrong, and she really had this incredible way of just like interpreted the medium, and she was adapting her style and changing and twisted, so every cover seems to belong to a slightly different. So you get the sense of a coherence in terms of graphic, but there's a uniqueness on every single page, and like she was inventing the names,
the titles,
and the jokes within, and finding like the rip-off title of it, and then she's a level of like professionalism. It's like, done, here it is, and we're like, whoa, this is amazing. Okay, next one. She's been fantastic
to work with. Yeah.
She's been incredibly professional, and that's. Now we are with the Kickstarter. We have some special guests that are joining they're creating some special cover for like an expansion within the game. We're adding some cards, and we have some really big name in the comic book fandom that there might be. One, we have like Eisner recipient, Elena Casagrande was the artist for like she won an Eisner for Black Widow. And then we get Giuseppe Camuncoli, that is like the artist of Amazing Spider-Man and Darth Vader, and it's like Discover Country. We have Lisandro Hesteran, who just like work on Redneck, and it's a terrific like another artist, and then we have Gianluca Pagliarani. And Riccardo Burchielli did like DMZ. It's like Francesco Biagini. It's like it's a great Italian team, except like Lisandro is actually Argentinian. And we would like to in the next things like welcome a lot of like American artists too. But we were very small, and we tried to resource.
I made use of our network of people that we knew in the comic book industry in Italy that put us in touch with these artists, fortunately they liked the project, and they
immediately the project clicked, and the level of probably of freedom of just like creating characters and situations like they were like set in the past, I think has been very liberatory in the sense that we're like completely say like, look, just like take the comics that you that you love and try to reinterpret them. And I think we while we are receiving their because we're actually right now in front of me, there's a new cover
in front of a new cover, and they are every time we receive a new cover, they're like, wow. This is amazing. And we are revealing every couple of days. We reveal one of these new covers online on our Kickstarter page, and we revealed one yesterday, and our backers seem to have loved it. We loved it. And another one is going to be revealed soon.
Then we're going to have like two great artists that are like unknown, but their work is phenomenal, and they're going to work on these expansions on the game that is going to bring also another genre that is the war genre that at the time, for obvious reason, was very big, and with new mechanics and things. So we're trying to build something very unique for like the Kickstarter backers, and it's going to be exclusive, like an exclusive edition. That is. I think that's what's really important. Mm-hmm. And so we are excited.
So I guess you hinted at one of my questions I had written down, which was the game. I mean, you build it and you hope that it's successful. And I mean, as we're recording it, your Kickstarter's gone through the roof, but and you've got, as part of the collector's edition of it, you can get the war expansion. So I'm assuming that means that this game is built to be expanded upon in the future if you guys so choose to do it.
Yeah. I think, that was the original idea, and that's probably also why we started with the Golden Age, because the idea is to continue. If this is successful and, if we enjoy the process, we can do it, and the people receive it well. The idea is to continue and expand, not only in, American comics, but maybe reach out also to the French, Belgian comics, Japanese, and we have some. Yeah, we have some ideas for expansion.
I love like the silver, the bronze. I cannot wait to get to the modern, and in sort of like mirroring the image comics, the comic books I grew up with, and so I don't know. We'll try a way of mirroring, and then find artists that want to play with that, with the sort of reinventing things. And who knows? Maybe one day they're going to be like chances of like developing some of the characters with the artists that created them. So we are thrilled. But yes, the idea is to really create and maybe there will be who knows? Maybe one day collaboration with. I mean, this is like dreaming. Like if there ever be interest, like other publisher and so on. At the moment, it's an alternative universe timeline, in which we tweak things a little bit, and then when you have like we try to build like a coherent alternative universe. Now that multiverse are really all the rage, we added the concept to it, and we wanted to be free of like any kind of like constraint, and that's why we invented a universe.
Well, what's great with board games is the concept. Like, I always take, one of the most popular card games, at least in America, is Munchkin. And like, I just got my Munchkin Batman. Like, you can do anything with Munchkin. And as you say that, like, it's just going through my head, like, oh my God, Age of Comics manga edition, Age of Comics Marvel edition, like all the things that you could do moving forward with it. But even just the base game, like, obviously you got the war expansion, and you could keep adding those different genres to build the game further and make it so it has a really cool base that could just, if people latch onto it, which it seems like people are doing right now, just keep going and going, which is really cool. It's got to feel really great after all the hard work that you put into the first week that you've had with it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I guess one of the things I would love to talk about real quick is like I've interviewed plenty of people who do Kickstarters. I've done Kickstarter myself, but for comics, what's the biggest hassle for a board game? Like, how do you? I guess what's your biggest issue you had? Like, how was finding somebody to make all of this for you and to mass produce it? Like, how was that process for you as somebody who's never done it before?
We've never done it before either.
No, I did actually.
No, in the board
In the
games,
board
no.
game arena, no.
He had an experience in Kickstarter
Yeah,
already in a different
before,
industry
yeah, like it's a science fiction short film, so completely different.
in 2013, right?
Yeah, it was like
2013, yeah.
I think Kickstarter was like 1 year old, maybe
Very,
less. It was like
very
really one of
recent.
the very first projects. Where do we?
Well, it's been,
I, I think one thing that is important. We really, I mean, we come from academia, and we really, I think we start studying it. I mean, there's an incredible quantity of amazing resources that you
online,
can
yeah,
find online.
yeah. Many board game independent publishers
Yeah.
put out, make available lots of resources going through all the details of every single phase of the process, from finding artists to, the developing, designing a game, but also manufacturers and all the logistics of it, behind it, how to structure a Kickstarter campaign, all the marketing. So we've been reading a lot. We don't know everything, obviously, but we are learning also as we go. But thanks to there's.
I think like the Stonemeyer Games blog has been like a really
Stonemeyer Games blogs have been super helpful.
That was like wherever there was a question, there was a moment in which like, when can we find an answer to this question? Going there, like it's there. So you really need to look. It's a huge amount of material that has been produced by Jamie Stonemeyer, and is just like Jamie Stegmaier.
Stonemeyer is the company.
Stonemeyer is the company, and so we try to break it down as much as possible in little tasks, and trying to sort one out at a time. At the beginning, still like incredibly
it's still very
overwhelming.
It's very daunting still. I've just been through the process of trying to understand how to move the goods from China to Europe, and all the tax bureaucracy around it, or around selling in Europe, and then how it differs from selling in America and Canada and Australia. It's very daunting because we're trying to do so much by ourselves. Since this is just beginning the company.
Just the two of us.
It's just the two of us, and then the artist, basically. There's no one else, and so it's very daunting. And so Giacomo said we try to break in little pieces, try to handle it. Let me say, for me, one of the most complicated things, maybe because from a professional point of view, is all this bureaucracy, the taxes, to make sure that everything is correct. The VAT is the sales tax here in Europe, extremely complicated because each country has its own rates. And anyway, it's an administrative nightmare, bureaucratic nightmare a little bit. So that is difficult. The entire logistic, it's of getting the goods from, basically we are setting up an import-export type of activity from zero, and it's daunting.
It's daunting. It's like they say, if you're going with a Kickstarter, because you want to launch a company, because it's really a huge amount of things that needs to be fulfilled and need to go according to plan. In our case, the world of comics was was kind of attainable, and I could reach, because I had one of my best friends that actually was there at the beginning since the beginning of the process. He's an editor in one big publishing company here. So while I was looking for artists, I was going online. He was like, you should talk with this person, and that was like the perfect person to come on board. Yeah, we made a contract. We made investments, like little investments, but we really need to make the right investment, I think, for what we were trying to put together. And we just we knew when we get the sense that there was something. Okay, one important thing to say is when you're developing a game, the first thing that needs to work is the prototype. So we have a really ugly prototype at the beginning of this process. It was a monstrosity.
We made it at home.
I made it at home, with just cutting, the cardboard and everything. When I get the feeling, people start to enjoying it, and the response were good, and the experienced designer was giving very good feedback. It was not there 100%. Games are never there 100%. It's like you can go on and develop them forever. There's a moment in which you say, okay, I need to stop. Player will create mods. They will find even better ways of, maybe even better rules. But it was in that moment when you start realizing people are enjoying it, that's where we decide, okay, let's make like a commitment and let's like invest in this thing a little bit more. And we always move in, one little step after another one. It was just not like putting all the money in one basket. It was just like, let's do a little bit and see how it goes here. Let's do a little bit here. And then it's like, it's what actually happened. And then you need to learn how to do your own marketing, or you need to reach out for like, there are amazing professionals that have plenty of like great suggestions. It can be done, but you need a team. For sure. Alone is just like...
Yeah, alone, I wouldn't do
alone, I know many people did it. I don't know how they did it. It's like, kudos to single, although if we weren't in two and supporting each other, it would have been just...
Also being a couple is its own, but it's a separate chapter, as its own particularities, because obviously we disagree often, and we are talking about living together, and the work becomes... Yeah, we talk about the game from morning until we go to sleep, and that's not great. And yeah,
but it's just like, I think the biggest suggestion is like approach it as honestly like an exam. Like you're going to do an exam. This is like the closest it felt like that. Like we were writing like a paper or like yeah. And then that day is okay. We are ready. And then when you press that button, it's just like whatever you accumulated throughout the last, 2 years, essentially. It's been 2 years of development, even something more. Yes. It starts before. Long journey.
I imagine it's a lot of flow charts and Excel spreadsheets.
It
is.
So, I guess let's jump into the Kickstarter. You, as we're recording this, you've demolished the goal you were going for. You're almost at $90,000 for it, which is amazing. And you've got what I love, which is simplified tiers. Everybody out there, when you go and check it out, there's just the board game and the collector's edition. Mm-hmm. Simple too. Was that, when you did this, was that what you wanted to do, was keep it simple and just give people the basics for the game and not try to overcomplicate it? Yeah, because I know they go nuts with some of these pledges.
No, absolutely. I mean, from a personal point of view, I don't like when the campaign is too complicated, because I get overwhelmed by the offer. So this is very personal. So I always wanted, if I do a campaign, I wanted something simple and clear. And then, because it's our first time, it would be too risky to offer too much and just make our life very miserable. And there was also the advice from the manufacturers we've been speaking with. They say, go with something simple, because we've seen many people offer too much and end up losing a lot of money. And we thought, okay, if we want to do this well, we need to make our life simple and offer something that we know we can deliver well, and without going completely crazy, without risking too much our money and our sanity, basically.
Yeah, especially the sanity. But I think the other very important thing is that we managed to find a local printer that never done a game before. Actually, was working, was making like paper thing for fairs and like Congress, like for industry fairs and things like that. And I went there. It's like, it was literally one close to my home, and say, but would you, because you print everything on paper and cardboard, like, would you be able to make a board game? It's like, I have no idea. Do you have one? And I went back to him with like, I remember 2 games that I brought were Ticket to Ride and Brass. So like, almost like a little bit too extreme. One is a very commercial one that you can find in toy shop, and the other one is like one of these more neat, relatively niche. It's one of the most successful games, but it's like premium thing. And I look at that and say, okay, it shouldn't be that complicated. But we work with him in creating a way to fold the board and stitch it together and find solutions. And I mean, of course, then we're going to manufacture somewhere else, because he's not able to reach, to have that level, that scale of printing 1,000. But that process really consolidates the fact that the game was actually working. And the way the cards were cut and all these little detail and things. It almost was validating our ideas while we're doing it. And again, I say it seems like an easy process. We went on with that for like 3 months, and plus there was COVID, so like the office was closing, and then like we're coming back with something, and then, but that in a way, when we saw the box arriving, actually we had it, around like, and that's like, but when it arrived, that was like a magic moment, because it was like the culmination of all this just thinking and Excel spreadsheet and tests of like on online tabletop simulator, and like suddenly there was the game, and that would really click with when we met our first audience. We went one like a sort of like the Italian equivalent of the Gen Con that is in Modena. It's called Play. Then when we met the players, the real players, and that was spectacular. That was like a great moment, because you could really see the reaction and the joy of having these little comic books, and the best compliment we got from there was, it felt like I was publishing comics. And that's like, I just, the dynamic, the mechanics, the things like, but really felt like I was in the 40s and publishing comics. And that for us was like, I think was like one of the best compliments.
Yeah, I remember seeing a friend of mine went to Gen Con this year, and he had mentioned it, and I'd already seen your ads out there. I was like, yeah, I'm looking forward to that hitting Kickstarter. And you guys won an award there too, didn't you?
With
it's like Gaming Trend. It's like it's their website. It's like they say like they awarded their favorite, and it was like
one of the best of Gen Con.
Sort of like newcomer and
the best theme,
best thematic game. That's something that that's another thing that many reviewers are like remarking is how thematic the game is. He has like he has a manual that can look daunting, but we try to build it in a way that once you read it, you just like you will rarely go back to. It's almost, and we created a game so that when you start the game on your first round, as the first action, you can go and print a comic book. You already have like a team of creative in your hands, and that we noticed that really helps player immediately clicking and understanding what's happening. And because it's so thematic, if you know the basic of like a comic book is made. So what you need in a game is like to make a comic book, you need, of course, like resources, and you start with the company, and with little money. So you have like you can hire. You need to hire a team, develop an idea, develop a title and a genre, finding the right ideas, printing the comic book, and then sending your agent down the newsstand down the street of Manhattan. It's set like in an imaginary Manhattan, when you go down and take the orders from the newsstand, and then and if you have the right comic book with the right value, you can fulfill this order and gather even more funds. And those are like the basic core mechanics. And then your artists, for example, can learn from each other, and they can become better writers and artists. Artists that are like a very low value, we interpret them as being very young, and they say, okay, they're very low value, but they come with a great idea. So we try to balance them, and the one that like the value one that works with the value two can increase its value, and then they can train themselves and reading more, and then they can reach the next level. We try to treat we try to be, as I said, very, very, very thematic to help the players throughout the game. And the game lasts for calculated more or less like is 25 minutes per person. Not that you spend 25 and then another player but if you account everything. It's like
it's about 1 year, just a little bit less 1 year into
1 hour. Yeah,
1 year.
1 year.
1 year, no.
1 hour.
1 year.
It goes down to 50 minutes. 50 minutes in 2, and then it's like, of course, there's more competition if you play 3 and 4 players. But we think it's pretty fun. And if you enjoy board game, and if you like comic books, I think you'll
probably enjoy.
Yeah, you'll enjoy the game.
Yeah, and it's a perfect time for a board game, like any board game. Like I have some that last forever, but like an hour, jump in and out with 4 friends, perfect every time. Because then usually you play around 2 as well. But
it goes, in 4 players can get to we would say 1 hour, 1 hour and 10 minutes. But also we noticed there's a very you can learn very quickly, and people start to play faster and faster. So it's it's exactly what you were spot on.
So, listen, I am super excited for this game. I was a backer before I ever reached out for this interview.
Oh,
I love the idea. I love board games. I love comics, obviously. So I'm super excited for this game. I hope that everyone out there goes and checks the game out. But if they want to follow you two further, do you have independent social media you want to hit out, or does Lirius Games have one that you want to pimp out? Where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can just go on liriusgames.com, and from there you can find, if you want to join us on Discord or like Facebook group or Instagram, Twitter. I mean, we try our best to respond in time to people that have questions. But yeah, we are like easy right now. It's just like we try to ask to everybody to go on Kickstart and ask their question there, because it helps, like the Kickstart, the platform itself is generating more interest. So we say, let's go there and comment on our updates or just ask questions there. But yeah, we try to set up a network of social media, a little one.
Yeah,
again, it's just to do a lot. So,
it's all under Lirius Games, yeah.
And everything is under Lirius.
Awesome. So everyone out there listening, watching, remember, as always, I'll have the links in the show notes down below to the Kickstarter itself and Lirius Games website. So check those out. And we didn't mention it much in the interview, but like the Kickstarter itself, when you go on there, take your time and look it over. These two did an amazing job putting together just the layout of it, the videos they've embedded into it, everything is just explains it so well, I feel. So make sure to go check that out, and I'm sure you're all going to love this project and hopefully back it as well. So yeah, thanks again for taking the time to come and talk with me. I really appreciate it, and best of luck with the project moving forward, you two.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.